its grounds. President Trump has spent the past few days at his golf club in West Palm Beach, Florida, and on Wednesday he made an unannounced appearance at a fire station there where he touted the GOP tax plan.
People don't understand. We have signed more legislation than anybody. We broke the record of Harry Truman. And they were saying, if we get this big tax cut, because that's the legislation of all legislation, that's the biggest there is. And that included ANWR, as you know, and it included the repeal of the individual mandate, which is a disaster. That's where you have the privilege of paying a lot of money so that you don't have to buy health insurance, all right? The most unpopular thing, which most people thought should have been unconstitutional. But we repealed it.
The president largely echoed his tweets from earlier in the week, including some 2018 predictions like Democrats and Republicans coming together to, quote, develop a great new health care plan, and that the Republican tax bill will be a boon for companies, even the stock market. CBSN political contributor and Boston Herald columnist Michael Graham is in Boston and joins us now. Hi, Michael. President Trump said agenda items like health care and infrastructure reform would happen in 2017, but it seems that we will start off 2018 talking about the same things. Do you think his predictions are right?
Well, I mean, I think that his prediction about the economy has a lot more hope to come to fruition because it doesn't involve having Democrats vote to improve the economy. Anything he wants to do that involves Democrats voting for it is going to be very, very tough. And I think one thing that people need to keep in mind, particularly Trump supporters who are hoping that maybe they've turned a corner and we can see a more traditional Republican style or traditional presidency, is that Republicans have now used their one weird trick to pass legislation with only 50 votes. Reconciliation is done. They can't use it again in 2018, which means that everything is going to have to get through the 60 vote threshold, which means it's going to now need 9 Democratic votes. It is really hard to see anything of significance that gets 9 Democrats to vote for it.
So do you think that there is anything on the table that lawmakers from both parties will try to work together in the new year?
Okay, see, I'm torn because on the one hand, politicians love money and spending it. And the infrastructure bill is just a big bucket of money and you dump it on people. So they like that. On the other hand, Democrats really hate Trump. Or more importantly, and I think this is actually more accurate, they perceive that their base doesn't like Trump, that it wants them to fight. And anything that looks like you're cooperating with Trump, no matter how much it benefits the folks back home, they're going to be very leery about voting for it. So you're going to see this tough battle. Is it possible to put together so much spending on so many projects that go right to Chuck Schumer or, you know, Heidi Heitkamp's states that they can get 60 votes in the Senate? It's possible, but it is really going to be tough. The one exception might be DACA. The dreamers, if you will, the kids who were brought here by their parents illegally, because that has a deadline. The law says they have to do something by March. Republicans want to do something. Democrats want to do something. You may remember that press conference with Nancy Pelosi a few months ago where the protesters were screaming and shouting down Nancy Pelosi. These people are very motivated. And so you may see a deal there just because they're up against a wall. But I thought it was interesting. Mark Meadows, who's a congressman in the Freedom Caucus, the really conservative Freedom Caucus, said there's a lot that's going to happen in January, not very much of it that conservatives are going to like. And that's because it has to do with the budget, DACA, and deadlines that can't be avoided, and the need to get compromises that can get Democratic support.
All right. Well, I want to move on for a second because you wrote in a recent column that the left is obsessed with the Trump-Russia story.
Right.
But I would posit that the right is just as obsessed. I mean, if you listen to Fox News, other conservative pundits, they're obsessed with this story, too, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, they're obsessed with the new part of the story, which is the part about the opposition research group Fusion GPS and their relationship with both the Democratic Party and the DOJ. And that fascination is generated entirely from playing defense, from the less fascination with Russia. And they both have legitimate points on either side. So far, though, both sides, it appears to me, this is my opinion, are dealing with, from a standpoint of, you know, law and order, danger to democracy, really small ball. Mike Flynn, the former national intelligence guy, his corruption was pre that. Paul Manafort, same thing. I wish we could get the two teams together and say, look, Donald Trump really won the election, Russia really messed with our election, and Hillary really lost. the election. All those things really happened. Now can we move on? But in this climate, that's not going to happen.
So really quickly, you think that harping on the Russia story will not help Democrats in midterm elections in 2018?
They have already baked in the anti-Trump movement. And so the question for Republicans, is there anything they can do to break the momentum of this wave that is coming? Midterm elections always favor the out-of-power party. That's particularly true when you've got kind of the extra oxygen of hating Trump that's going to motivate people to turn out. I think the biggest story for Democrats was the large turnout of minority voters in Alabama in that special election, which is not what historically happens. If there's a minority vote push and there's an energized progressive base, it's going to be very, very tough for Republicans to hold on to the House. They can probably hold the Senate, but the House is going to be very tough.
All right, Michael Graham in Boston, thank you.